Guys, I found a stupid simple woodworking project that's going viral on social media. There's a bunch of different videos and some of them have 1 million views each. So it got me thinking, does a viral woodworking video mean it's selling really good? In today's video, I'm gonna build this internet famous project to find out. And we'll see if it's actually selling and for how much. Then we'll compare it to another simple project that's selling pretty well without a viral video. Enough talking, let's get to building. Okay, for this project, we're gonna be starting at the miter saw as usual. And you're gonna need about 60 inches of a 1x6. First, I gotta cut off the factory edge because it's drier than a Mormon wedding. A lot of times when we're making these things, we'll be like, you can make 5 of these out of one 1x4. But then reality hits. Because a lot of times when you buy these boards, you don't notice it, but you'll have pieces like this. I cut this piece to the dimension I needed, and then I flipped it over and I realized it has a big gouge and it's missing a big chunk out of the knot. Or you find a piece that has a 2-foot crack all the way down it. And by the time you cut out all the pieces with gouges, cracks, and holes, you're left with a 5-foot board. So if you're expecting to get a certain amount of projects out of one board, you might want to check that board really good before you bring it home. So one of my cuts was over 30 inches, so I had to open my garage door to do it.
Hey, Jelly Roll, come rub my bunions again.
Sorry, Miss Jones.
I'll give you another candy bar.
I never rubbed your bunions for a candy bar. I did not. I just want you guys to know, that old lady's crazy. She was lying. I never rubbed anybody's bunions for a candy bar. Get out of here. Okay, so you should have one board at 30.5 inches and 2 boards at 14.75 of an inch. Now I have to rearrange my whole shop so I can use my table saw. Anybody else got a small shop out there that's got to do this? Now I'm going to rip all 3 of these boards down to 4 inches wide. Now, when I was making this, there was a bunch of videos of different ways to make this, and it's just such a simple project, but there's a couple things that you can do to like boost it, and I'm not talking laser engrave or anything like that. I'll show you guys. I'm gonna use my miter sled, and I'm gonna cut some dados into the 14.75 inch boards that are gonna hold the top up. I'm gonna make this dado 2 inches from the top. Then I'm gonna put both of these together before I make my line so that they're exactly the same on both sides. In the camera, it looks like it's doing this, but it's not, it's square. See, here it is from the other side. I'm gonna use a piece of scrap to make the bottom line. And then I'm gonna extend it down, shoot. Sorry, I dropped my pencil. Then I'm gonna extend it down to the front so you can see where it's at. I just had a thought, I should probably sand the wood down first before I try to fit it in there, because if I get it to a perfect fit and then sand all the boards down, it's not gonna be a perfect fit anymore. So I'm gonna do some sanding first. I had to wear my jacket in the shop today because Vegas is getting that cold snap that the rest of the country's getting. It was all the way down to 60 degrees in my shop.
I'd like to punch him right in the middle of his fat face.
So I'm gonna do a 1/4 inch deep dado on both these boards. Now, if you don't have a way to make a dado either this way or a router, you can always just cut the board to 30 inches because I added the 1/2 inch so I could do a 1/4 inch into each leg. And you can do pocket hole screws. They'll work just as good. You're not putting anything heavy on this thing. All right, let's check my fit. Well, bam! It's almost like I knew what I was doing. So I just need to clean up some of these grooves with my chisel, but this came out pretty good. Okay, so this thing's gonna go on my stove like this, but you see I have this little 6-inch backsplash, so I'm gonna have a gap behind it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna notch out for my backsplash. Now you'll probably have a different backsplash. You may have tile, you may have a full backsplash, you may have cardboard. I'm not judging you. So you may have to adjust yours as you see fit. Now I'm gonna sand this on my belt sander, but you can sand it any way you want. I just like the belt sander because it's faster. I can round over all the edges, and I like the way when you sand the wood with the grain, how that looks. I even finished it off sanding it by hand going with the grain because I did that in the last project and the stain seemed to come out better on those pieces I hand sanded. One of the reasons I think this thing went viral is because of this cabinet pool. The cabinet pool was $25 and it came in this huge box with all this stuffing just for no reason. It's like $100 worth of stuffing in this thing. I want to drill out the holes for the pool before I put this thing together. And I'm just trying to center the pool onto the board right now. Looks like 1 1/8 inches on each side is center. So I'm gonna put a pencil mark where it looks like the center of the screw hole is. I'm gonna do that same thing on both sides. Then I want my hole to be 3/8 from the front. Then I'm gonna center punch it, drill it, and countersink it. Now it's time to glue it up, and I'm just setting up my pieces so I put the right part on the right side, because I got to make sure these screw holes go to the front, and I got to make sure that these notches go to the back, because you know what channel you're watching. I'll end up gluing this thing backwards. So always take a little bit of time and set up your pieces. I've had glue ups before where I just had the pieces all over and I'm putting it together and then I do it wrong. So I always spend a minute just getting it all ready. So I'm just going to use some wood glue into our Dados. Oh, there was a bunch of dust in here. Look at all the dust. I just made like, what the heck? Where'd all that dust come from? Looks like mud inside of there. It's like I pre-filled the gaps or something. All right, screw holes to the front, notch to the back. Got a little bit of sawdust in there. Really tightened up my joint. Maybe that was a hack I just discovered. I like to use these angle things when I'm doing stuff like this just to keep it square while I'm gluing it up, because when you clamp it, sometimes it tweaks stuff. So these won't put pressure on your joint very well, but they will hold it at a 90-degree angle, which is great. My joints were perfect, and now I just hit my finger.
The face of Badur. Badur!
I'm not going to put a ton of pressure on here, just enough to keep it a little snug. Okay, I made some sample stains with some different stains I have, and I think I like my Provincial the best. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.
Okay, the real reason I use Provincial all the time is because it matches the stains in my shorts. And I tell my wife that I sat in Provincial, so whenever she's doing laundry, she's like, oh, you must have sat in some Provincial again. And I'm like, that's what happened. Okay, here's a real tip. Sometimes when I have to get stain out of the corner like this, I'll wrap it around my plastic putty knife. And then all you got to do is rub it really gently in the corner and see how it pulls the stain out. See, you're learning more than just junior high jokes over here.
Okay, while my stain is drying, I'm going to show you guys another build that you can do. It's not a viral build, but it's a bestseller, meaning it's selling really good on Etsy. And I'm going to make it out of this scrap 1x8. I'm going to rip this 1x8 down to 4 inches.
Now this project takes a little bit more wood than the other one, but the thing is you don't need that expensive bar that I used in the other one. I'm going to show you how to do this with a wooden dowel instead. And it's much more versatile than the oven shelf. You can do this, you can use this anywhere.
Okay, if you had like a regular size 4x8, sometimes they fluctuate like up to 1/4 inch. But if you had like an average size 4x8 and you put the smaller one on top of the other one like this, it should be roughly 4 inches by 4 inches. Now, it's not going to be perfect. You see, that's not exactly 4 inches, but that's close enough.
He's a hack.
Then I'm going to cut both of these down to 24 inches on my miter saw.
Now I just lined them up and cut them both at the same time so they were the exact same size.
With what you have left of the 4-inch wide piece, we're going to make ends like this. So just put your piece up against there and then mark it right here, because that's where we're going to stop. If it was exactly 4 inches, you could just do 4x4, but it's not quite, it's like a 30-second off from being 4 inches. So, and you need 2 of these, 1 for each side.
Then I'm going to sand it all down right now with 150 grit sandpaper. I'm going to make a few passes with my block sander going with the grain, again with 150 grit sandpaper. Plus I get my cardio in like this. This is going to be my cardio for the week. Okay, so my mic died and I didn't know it. So all I'm doing is I'm telling you I'm going to put this rod in the front here. So I got to drill 2 holes. This dowel is a 3/8 inch dowel. I got to drill 2 holes into these end pieces. So the inside dimension on my box is 24 inches. So I'm going to cut this rod to 24 5/8 so I can go 3/8 into each side.
That's going to be the center of my hole right there. You're going to go up 2 inches from the bottom and then in 1/2 inch. Sorry, my line looks like a turd. I went over it too many times. I saw these stop collars on 5 Duck Studio. I don't know if you guys have seen his channel. Awesome woodworking channel. You should check it out. But they're a little different than the old style. They squeeze the bit rather than the old style used a set screw that sometimes would bend your, I don't know what you call that, the edge of the drill blade, whatever you call that. And where this squeezes it instead. I haven't tried it yet. This is the first time I'm trying it. But it just seems like an awesome concept to me because I always have problems getting the other ones on. I'm going to set the depth of my bit at about 3/8 of an inch. I'm still at about 3/8 of an inch. Can you guys see that? And it seems pretty tight, so let's give it a try.
Now, you don't need to use a stop collar if you don't want. You can use a piece of tape. I just want to be cool like all the other YouTube woodworkers. Now, these aren't the exact brand he showed on his channel. I cheaped out and I went with one that was like $1 cheaper. And these are aluminum, so they're leaving black marks. His didn't do that. I'll leave the ones he showed in the description since mine are too cheap. And then again, my battery's still dead from my headset, so I didn't get any of the audio of gluing this up. I probably made a joke right here about putting mustard on a hot dog like I always do. You know, I always say the same crap. At least that's what my wife tells me. So I just assembled this thing with some glue. Then I clamped it together. Then I just nailed it together with my pin nailer. I used 1.25 inch nails. And look at this. I can't even do my signature, you know, where I make the popping sounds. I make it skip all over. So I got to do the sounds myself. Pop, pop. It's a pin nailer, so it sounds a little gay. Sorry. Then I just glued the ends on and then pin nailed them. Pop. Sorry, it was a premature pop. Pop, pop. Okay, so right here, I'm actually saying something important. Glue the rod in right now. Don't wait till you put the other end on, because then you won't be able to get the rod in. Okay, how many people thought I was going to glue the end on before I put the rod on, and then I was going to have a conniption, throw this thing across the room, and go watch cartoons in my underoos? Pop, pop, pop.
Why am I wearing safety glasses?
Since I'm doing a comparison between this project and the last one, I just went ahead and did the same provincial stain so that you guys can see how they look together. While I'm staining this would be a great time to beg you guys for some likes, comments, hit that hype button. I know not everybody has that hype thing. I don't even have it. I can only see it from my wife's page because she has it.
So I'm not using my normal water-based poly that I use on here. I'm using an oil base because it's going to be sitting on the stove where it's going to have steam and heat and stuff like that, and you're going to have to clean it a lot, oil splashing on it. So I'm going to use a oil-based poly to help give it some added protection.
And then I'm using the same oil-based poly on both projects just to keep it simple. You ever videotape yourself and watch yourself doing something? I look like a freaking monkey right here. Them Neanderthal genes are strong in me.
So it's been a few days. I've got several coats of oil-based poly on this to keep it from getting messed up from the oils and stuff. Now it's time to put the rail on. And this should be pretty easy. I'm just gonna put the screws in from the bottom here. I'm gonna flip it over because I want to install a safety clip on here. I want to put a little L bracket under here, so that way when you have this on the stove, it can't fall forward. It'll catch onto the back of the stove. All right, well, she's all done. Let's go see how she looks in the kitchen. I'm not saying she because I'm putting it in the kitchen. And all right, you guys ready for the big reveal? Quabam! What do you think? I think it looks really classy. You can make hot dogs in this kitchen and they'll be classy hot dogs. I was a little skeptical of the notch, but I think that came out pretty good. Now all you can do is throw some salt and pepper up here if you want, some of your favorite spices, whatever you want you can throw up here. It's a little shelf. You don't have to worry about stuff falling behind there. And then look, you remember the L bracket I put on earlier? See that? Now you don't got to worry about this thing falling over while you're trying to fry a Twinkie.
So there was a lot of different videos of this thing online. And even though they were all different, they pretty much all did the same thing. Like this video right here got 2 million views. And this video got a little bit more than 2,000. But the one I modeled mine after was this one right here. Well, the only thing that I really did the same as her was the pool bar. And that's because in the comments, everybody was commenting, where'd you get that pool bar from? But even more than that, people were asking, where did you get that shelf and where can I get one? And a couple people asked, do you sell feet pics? So some guys just wanted pictures of the dimensions. So all this begs the question, are they selling well? Well, if you go on to Etsy and you put in stove shelf, there's quite a few of them that come up. There's a couple that say popular now. There's a bestseller. Look how simple this bestseller is. They're selling it for 40 bucks. But for as viral as the video is, they don't seem to be as popular as you would think.
This one they're asking $75 for, and it's only a couple 2x4s. Here's a really simple one they're selling for only $24.99, and it has had 5 views in the last 24 hours. But look at this. $72.21 to ship it. So if you look at this one right here, this is a bestseller. It has no legs on it. It's a really simple design. Looks like it just tucks behind the stovetop. It's in 20 carts right now. They're selling it starting at $57. If you pick a different color, it goes all the way up to $74. So these have potential, but I also see a lot of problems with them. First of all, you're building something that somebody's got to put over their stove. Is it a fire hazard? I don't know. Could be. Is it something you want to take on as a liability? You'd have to do some researching for that. But also, you don't know what kind of backsplash somebody has. So it's a really simple build, but there's some inherent headaches that you're going to have to deal with. So I think my second project kind of fulfills the same need, but doesn't have the same problems as this one does. This one is done too, but you guys let me forget to put the keyhole slots on the back. So I don't have a way to hang it on the wall. I mean, I could still add them right now. It's not a big deal, but I don't have a place to hang it anyways. I just wanted to make it to show you guys another project that was selling on there. And this one's a lot cheaper to make as far as you don't need that expensive pull handle. You got this 70-cent dowel. I only made mine 24 inches. This one's a little bit more versatile than the shelf because you can hang this anywhere on your wall and then you just put your spices in it. I made it big enough to get these bigger spices in there. You could put stuff like your Old Bay, whatever spices you like to use. These are my wife's favorites that she uses. You can make it a little bit bigger if you wanted. Get some canned goods in there. I didn't make mine big enough for that, but I mean, that's another thing you can do, making it for a pantry. Here's a bonus recipe for you guys. Get yourself a can of this imported cheese. Make sure it's the imported and not the domestic stuff. It's got a little bit more kick to it. Then you get yourself some of this, sprinkle it on there for some crunch. I always make it when the in-laws come over. Now, they haven't been over in years for some reason, but they know I always got a can ready for them. So now this little spice rack, it's not in a viral video, but it's in 14 carts. They're selling it for $40+. So the $40 one is only 12 inches. The one I built, which is 24 inches, you could say 25 because I got the 2 3/4 inch ends. Mine's 24 inches in the middle. Is about $100 they're selling it for. So that's a really good profit if you ask me. A lot of people are going to ask, how many are they selling? And I'm going to say, I don't know. One way to figure out how much they're selling is just go to the front of their page. They've had 248 sales and they've been on Etsy for a year and a half. And you could try to figure out their average price, or they have all kinds of apps you can download that will help you to figure out what each person's selling. I know there's a couple of Debbie Downer channels that have sprung up lately on YouTube that just because they didn't make any money off of their woodworking, now they're saying nobody can make money off of any of their woodworking. But I don't know what all these people are doing on Etsy just for the fun of it. They're just making stuff to not make any money. Somebody's making money off their woodworking, or they wouldn't be on Etsy like this year after year just to not make any money. So not everybody is going to be able to make money. You've got to do some research. You got to figure out some marketing, and you've got to do more than just build something and throw it online.